Welcome back to my wood shop. Today I want to talk about making your own cinch loom. One of the most frequently asked questions I get is, where can I find a loom? Well, there are places you can order them online, but they are very easy to make, and you can make them out of wood, out of metal, out of PVC pipe, out of a number of things. But the one thing that's critical is you need some way to secure your buckles at each end so they don't move. And so you have space underneath them so the cord can go over that crossbar and you can reach under there and have that space to work with. So this would be a very simple loom. This is just part of the board. But it would be a 1x4 with a block of wood on each end. And of course this would be one size. It's not adjustable. So you would affix your blocks of wood to the 1x4 and then attach your buckles to that block of wood. And you could either screw them on, nail them on, Velcro them on, duct tape them, whatever works. And just so that you could have room to work over this crossbar and that the buckle is secure and it's not going to be moving around on you. So that would be a real simple one to make. And you could either use it horizontal or lean it up against something. So some people like to weave horizontally and some like to weave up and down. And of course I like to weave up and down so I have legs on my loom. So I'm going to show you basically how to do this one. So first of all, you need to gather your wood, and you can basically use any kind of wood for your loom with the exception of these crossbars. And I find that they tend to wear out if you do a whole lot of weaving. The holes wear out on them. So if you can make the crossbars out of birch, oak, white ash, hickory, something really hard, that would be real helpful. So I cut my wood into 2-inch strips. And by the way, I'll try to put a materials list at the end of this video so that you know how to cut your pieces. So I cut them all into 2-inch strips with the exception of the legs, and I cut my legs 3 inches wide and about 16 inches long. And that's variable. You could have them different lengths. And you can have them plain just like this, just a straight piece of wood, or you can angle them off so they're rounded on each end. So either way, simple and a little bit more fancy. And then your uprights are 2 by 48 inches. And then you need a top and a bottom bar, and those are 12 inches long and again 2 inches wide. And then these crossbars are roughly 10 and 3/8 to 10 1/2, but I wait until I'm ready to fit those before I cut them to exact size, because they sometimes vary a little bit, this distance in between the uprights. So then the other thing you're going to need is some way to attach these crossbars, which have the hooks that you're going to put your buckles on. So you need a crossbar to attach those, and I like to put my hooks facing outward rather than downward because I like working in front of my loom rather than inside the frame. So I drill holes in the ends of these crossbars, and then I have 1/4-inch dowels that go through the sides and into those holes on the end of the crossbar. Now that's not the only way to affix them. You can actually just screw this bottom bar into that side bar, and that works perfectly fine. The thing, if you want it adjustable, then put lots of holes in the top so that you can move the top bar up or down according to what size you want to make. This one has adjustable holes in the bottom too, but I usually work with it in the lowest position, so it would be just as easy to just screw that bottom bar in permanently. And then the top bar make adjustable. So if you don't want to use dowels, And if you aren't capable of putting holes in the ends of your crossbars, you can screw those in the top also through the side pieces, and you would just have to re-screw them every time you wanted a different size. So I use 1/4 inch dowels cut about 3 inches long with a bead on the end. And that again is optional. You can put a little square of wood, anything so you can grab it and pull it out if you need it adjustable. Now the other thing is I make my legs so I can take them off to store them. So, I don't know if you can see this, but I have wing nuts on my legs so that I can just unscrew them and take them off for easy storage. That again is an option. You can actually just screw the legs on, so if you aren't going to be moving it, you could just screw the legs on. That would be okay. So first of all, you need to cut all your pieces to size, and then we're going to drill the holes in the side bars. And I'm going to start about 2 inches from the top, and I'm going to drill them 1 inch apart until I get to about 18 inches down. So they're going to be drilled to about down to here. So I'm going to stop for a few minutes and drill holes, and I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, so I've got my holes drilled in my uprights, and I started 2 inches from the top, and I drilled 18 holes, and I drilled them 17/64. And I have a drill press. If you don't have a drill press and are doing it with a hand drill, I highly recommend you get a drill guide so that you can drill perpendicular holes. So start 2 inches from the top, drill 18 holes, 17/64. And then I also drilled 2 holes in the bottom, 3.5 and 4.5 inches from the bottom, because I'm going to peg my bottom crossbar, simply because I store my looms and it makes it easier to store them if I can take that crossbar off. So I drilled the side bars, and I still need to sand them, so I sand them lightly and round off the edges. And then I went ahead and drilled 2 holes in the legs to attach to the uprights. So they will get attached to the uprights below those 2 holes that will hold the crossbar. So I just drilled 2 holes, again 17/64, and I'll wait until I have my loom assembled before I drill those same holes in the uprights, because I want to square my loom up. So anyway, I drilled 2 holes in the legs, and I rounded them off, and I actually made them with little legs, but you can just have a straight piece of wood, it doesn't matter. So the next thing you want to work on is the top and the bottom bars that hold the frame together, the ones that go on the top and the bottom. So you've cut them 12 inches long. Now you can either just put them smack on top of the uprights, screw them down. I usually use screws and glue. Make sure they're square. Or if you have the equipment, you can actually make a rabbeted end in the crossbars, and then it fits on top of your uprights, and then again you want to screw it and glue it. So I still have to do the rabbet the ends of these crossbars before I can make the frame. And got the holes drilled in my crossbars, and those again are 1 inch apart, and of course 2 on each end. And then the next thing I'm going to do is drill some pilot holes for the hooks that I'm going to put on. So I'm drilling a couple pilot holes in the crossbars so that I can screw the hooks in. So I'm going to go work on my top and bottom piece. I'm going to rabbet the ends of those, and then I'll get back with you when I'm ready to assemble. Okay, so now I've rabbeted my joints here. If you don't have a dado blade, don't worry, just do butt joints and screw and glue and they'll be fine. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue here to my joints. one thing you do want to make sure, take your square up your joints, make sure they're perfectly square. We want a square loom. And just screw the ends on. We'll do the same to the other side. Make sure again it's square. And you want to wipe off any excess glue. Make a nice clean joint. And I should have mentioned this before, but make sure you sand all your pieces before you put them together, because it's a lot easier to sand flat pieces than it is to sand when they're assembled. So I have already sanded my pieces. So you have your top bar glued on, turn around, and do the same to the bottom. I've already done my bottom. And then you're ready to put the legs on. Make sure you've sanded your legs. So you've already pre-drilled your holes in your legs, 17/64. So you want to line them up. And the way I do it is I gather a couple tools here. I take my square and I just make sure my loom is square with those legs. Make sure you have a nice flat surface to work on. And then I clamp them together and do some holes clear through the legs and the uprights. So then after you drill, and I've already drilled my holes, so I cheated a little bit here. So then, oops, I'm using 2-inch, 1/4-inch bolts. So I just want to put my bolts through, and I put them through from the inside out. And then a couple wing nuts. You don't have to do the bolts and wing nuts. You can put just screw the legs on if you aren't going to transport it. But I store mine, so I do the wing nuts so I can take the legs off to store it. So if there's one leg, turn around and do the other leg. And then you should have already drilled the ends on your crossbars. So this is the time I usually cut them to fit, because I want them to fit pretty tight. So you want them to fit without any slack in here. And I see these have about 1/8 of an inch slack. I need to cut some more. And that's okay, I've got another loom I'm working on, so I'll use this one for the other. So anyway, I have 3-inch dowels, 1/4-inch dowels with a bead on the end. And a little hint that if you want them to go in easier, put them in the pencil sharpener, put a little, just a little round on the ends, and then they can just go through just like that. And you're going to have to pretend I already have this leg on there too. So then put the crossbar on the top. Oh, we forgot the hooks. Let's see. So I have already drilled pilot holes for the hooks. I drilled them 2 inches apart, and my hooks are roughly 2.5 inches long. They're called ceiling hooks. And then I like to put a piece of plastic tubing over the hooks so that protects the buckles. So then you're just ready to screw those in. Of course, I need to screw them in a little bit further than that. But then put your crossbar on so the crossbar is adjustable. You're ready to use. Put a little bit of finish on so that it preserves your wood, and you're ready to go. So join me for the Mohair cinch making videos. Thank you for watching.